Taking a closer look as the defense rested its case yesterday in the double murder trial of Alex Murdaugh. Now today, the prosecution is going to call a handful of rebuttal witnesses. Afterwards, the jury is going to visit Murdaugh's home where his wife and son were killed, part of a request by the defense team. Now, closing arguments are expected to begin later this week. Our friend Taylor Bell, defense attorney, he is here with us again this morning. Now, I want to get to some questions, some viewer questions, and this one comes from Lee out of West Columbia. He says, quote, my question for Mr. Bell is, would this be a pro or con for the judge to allow the jury to go to the crime scene at Moselle for the defense? And Mr. Bell, you sound very professional and so smart. You should have been Mr. Murdaugh's attorney. Thank you. Lee giving you a compliment this morning.
Well, I appreciate that, Lee. I'm stunned there,
yeah.
right? Somebody finally said something good about me.
They recognize your expertise.
Not used to that as a criminal defense lawyer. As for the crime scene visit by the jurors, I think it can go both ways. I think there have been some exhibits entered into evidence by the government which are not to scale. I saw some of those. I'm in a group text with some of my attorney friends, and I looked at it and we were going back and forth that this is not to scale, so it could confuse the juror. And I think a first-hand look at how everything was set up, the distance, will be very good for the jurors. However, for the jurors and the prosecution, how isolated this location is, I think it could fall back in their face that how could there be some stranger lurking at the time frame that's been narrowed down so tight for there to be some other possible suspect, that there weren't dogs alerting or anything of that nature that no one would have known that this stranger was lurking.
That somebody was out there in the woods.
That's one thing I'm thinking about in regards to the visit.
All right, we've got another viewer question. This is from Rachel out of Bowman. She says, where are the clothes Alex had on in the video, and why have they never been found? I think he's guilty, but I think this is gonna be a hung jury. What does Taylor Bell think the verdict is going to be? And if a hung jury, do you think they will try him again? A lot of questions for you there.
First question, where the clothes are. So it's my understanding the government wasn't asking about this blue shirt until after the fact, when the defense proved and prevented the prosecution from going on their theory of high velocity blood spatter to the white shirt, when it came back that was not actual blood. So this is a shift, I think, a couple weeks before trial. And so the defense, I don't think, ever knew they were looking for this shirt, this blue shirt here. And it's my understanding, based on testimony, Alec had been living at multiple different locations and that everyone had packed up his stuff. And I'm not sure, but I do agree.
Yeah.
I want to know where it is. I don't have that many clothes that I probably couldn't tell somebody this is where this is. So that's a good question there.
All right. And then real quickly, let's see if we have time for one more question here. Could Alex have been driving the golf cart and carrying the guns? And is that how he was able to get to Maggie so quickly? And also, maybe would you be able to explain the theory of him sitting on the golf cart and would explain the height of the shooter? Because there's been a lot of questions about the height of the shooter in this case.
That's correct. That's a reasonable theory, I believe. Absolutely, based on supposedly a 5'2" shooter, two short shooters. But we also had expert testimony yesterday that said the shooter shot from above, as if the victims had
already been leaned over
and shot, and then crouched over and shot in the back. So I think that's a good theory, and it's absolutely a possibility that there could have been Alec on the golf cart. And I think the government may do that in closing, argue that's a possibility.
All right. Well, again, this trial is going to continue. And if you want to watch analysis of the trial from our legal experts or check out any of our in-depth coverage, we now have an Alex Murdaugh section on our free WLTX Plus app, which you can download on your Roku or Amazon Fire. Taylor Bell, thanks for being here, my friend.